Hi there. I've come to a carrot field. Like always here, they're just strewn around all over the place. I was really careful once when I was on a field which they allowed me on when the carrots were just coming through. And as I dug away, I carefully replaced every shoot. My God, you should see what they leave when they've gone. Makes me not want to necessarily be so careful next time. Anyway, I've been here a couple of times before, but I've never been in this bit of the field. I'm very excited. I've found a couple of things. I found what I thought might be a brooch, but it's not. It's a belt mount. Now I think these are sort of not particularly early. I think they're sort of 17th century. I think I got my hat the wrong way around. I think they're 16th, 17th century, but this one's in the shape of a rose, I think. I got very excited because I thought that section there actually went right the way around to be a brooch, but I don't think it is. And I found rather an interesting piece of lead. Now I just thought, oh, just lead, but now I've scraped a bit of the dirt off it, it's definitely got some symbols. Those aren't cast marks. So I think that must be part of something. And then down here, I'll plug in quickly so you can hear what it sounds like. Oh, well, I can't even do that. I'm having a disastrous day. My small camera, I've forgotten the SIM card, and I've left the leads to this in the car, but I'll get them in a minute. Anyway, it's round and Saxon brooch-like. And I picked it up, and on this side, you could see where the brooch might be a part of it there. And I thought, this is really exciting. It's a disc brooch of sorts. But then I turned it over and it's not, it's a seal matrix. I haven't found one of these in ages. Now, seal matrices, the ones I've found in the past, the chest piece ones, have a bit coming out like that. But this doesn't. Now it's medieval and it's a seal matrix, and I'm absolutely thrilled. There's loads of legend on it. And it is. Now, I've now got the dirt out of it. Now, it looks like it would have been the catch of a brooch. It's not. I think that would be a loop by which it sort of hung from something, perhaps like a pendant, perhaps, or maybe, I just don't know. I'm going to have to research it, but I'm absolutely thrilled. That's wonderful. That has made my day, and very early on. I might go back to the car and take the SIM card out of my drone to put in that, because it's more fun having more than one camera. Anyway, for the time being, that's brilliant. That's just fabulous. In fact, let's go back to headquarters quickly, because I really want to see what's on that. Hi there and welcome to headquarters. Well, that was just the most incredible day, and the first proper day on harvested and cultivated land I've had this year. And it's just really, really nice to be back. And finally, I mean, Jesus, it's the very end of August now. And I'm looking out of the window now, and I can see that wheat field of winter wheat has only just been cut, and they haven't even managed to bale it up yet. But things are happening, so we're going to start getting out on some proper fields soon. But anyway, to find this seal matrix so early on was just gobsmacking, and completely made my day. Because as I said, I've never found one with just the disc and the little loop there and the hole, which would have presumably enabled it to have been hung off something. I'll come on to it in a minute, but as I said, it's the first one I found which is a nice flat one and in such good condition. Now, I found several of these what they call chest piece ones. They all date to about between sort of 1200 and 1400. The ones with names, we'll come on to this in a minute, are earlier, and the ones with sort of generic sayings like "I've fancied you for yonks" or "You're the love of my life" or whatever, I think are a bit later. This one, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it says something like "May thou always be mine" or something. That's a later one. But these, as I said, these chest piece ones are the ones that I found so far. I mean, and they're absolutely delightful little things. I also found in a video, I've just looked it up, about a year and a half ago, a really big lead one. which had signs of a little pendant hanging as well. I gave that to the landowner because it was of serious local interest. It had the name of the village that he lives on it, so that was really, really cool. But I have got a bit of footage of it. I keep all the files of my old videos, and sometimes I never use them, but in this case it's proved useful. Now, I can't read backwards. I'm not very good at this sort of thing, but I put it on the detectinghub.co.uk information below, and they're all brilliant at this sort of thing. And one of the chaps on that did a negative version, and so we could get a vague idea of what it said. Now, and then someone else added that it is a personal one, and it's of Isabella of Paume. It's spelled Isabel de Paume, P-A-U-M-E-R. Wherever that is it? I don't think it's in England. Maybe it's French or the Low Countries or something like that. But it's a personal seal of hers, and it's got a shield there, and it's just the most completely wonderful object. Now, I've got some sealing wax for just this very thing. I haven't tried it out yet, so this is going to be a first. So bear with me. And we might be able to get a decent print of what it actually says. If I can get it to light. Here we go. There's all sorts of things you could use for this. Ow. Oh, God. Don't use blue tack, apparently. I think it's so sticky and not right that it can it might ruin the thing, but I mean, who knows. And I suspect someone's going to tell me sealing wax isn't ideal, but it is what it's meant for. This is what would have been used back in the day when Isabel was signing off her love letters to Monsieur de Paume, or perhaps someone else. Who knows how it would have been used, but it's such a personal object. It's just wonderful. No, I'm not. I think we just mix it up like that a bit. There we go. Loads of nice red, thick sealing wax. Right, put that back there. And let's give it a go. Well, that hasn't worked particularly well, but fast forward, and I'll just do another blob. Cut to finished blob. There we go. Let's spread it around a bit. Yeah, it's come out really well, actually, because it is a Isabel on that side. I haven't put enough wax down for that, but the shield's come out really nicely. That's just a really wonderful thing. A lot of you agree. There's something about finding a really personal artifact like that which just beats anything else. It's all very good finding lovely coins and jewellery and all the rest of it, but something so personal from someone. I mean, I've looked up Isabella of Paume. She doesn't. I can't find anything on her at all. Maybe she wasn't particularly important. Who knows? But it belonged to her. Gosh, do you know what's 800 years ago plus? But I'm just really pleased. That's just a really fabulous find. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to that, and let's go back to the fields. Oh, what a lovely day to be out. I'm thrilled. It's just so beautiful. I'm not doing this terribly scientifically, I'm afraid, today. It's just too rough. When it's nice and flat, then I'll come back and grid it a bit more seriously. But I'm rushing around rather, but having a lovely time, not taking it too seriously. Now, there's about 4 different signals here, and I think the deist, being the brilliant deist it is, has picked out something amongst it all. Now, I think that's a signal. I think that's just there. It's a very shallow signal amongst all that iron. I don't know if it's going to be any good. And I could be wrong, it might be part of the iron, but you can sometimes make it sound how you want it to sound, this machine. But that is a signal, definitely. It's a fish. Oh God, the curse of live digging. I'm going to stop a bit. There's too many signals, rubbish which sounds just like good target. So that could have been a good target. But it's not, it's just a tiny bit of aluminium. Oof, little aluminium something or other, rubbish. But the machine picked it out amongst all that iron. Well, that was really close to the surface. Not going to win find of the day, but it's a really good sign of a catch. It's the catch of a really, what would have been a really grand Roman brooch, and a big one at that. Look at that. I just love finding Roman things. So even little bits of them are really important. And that would have been big. That would have gone all the way around like that, probably. Gosh, what a beauty. Well, this is a lovely turn up. I'll show you how it sounds. So I'll plug you in. God, it was ballsy, and I've done something terrible to it. I've hit it really hard with the spade, which is really annoying. It was so close to the surface. It's the sort of thing that I always dig, but with real trepidation, because it sounds like the ballsier the sound, the more horrible it is usually. And this was, well, I mean, it's crotal bell territory, isn't it? Cistercius, crotal bell. A bit of tin can, it could be any number of those things. It's not, it's a Roman coin. It's a big Roman coin. I hope you can hear me, it's really windy. And I can see the god on one side, Sol Invictus or Mars or whatever, whoever it may be, therefore it's a phallus. I think it's probably Diocletian or Magnentius or someone, or Maximian rather, or someone like that, or it could even be Constantine. But there's loads on it. I mean, it's wonderful. I can read it. It says Constantinus. Well, it's got us on the end. I don't want to rub it too much. I'm always getting, yes, it's Constantine, Constantinus, or is it Constantius? It might be Constantius. Could be Constantius Chlorus. It could be Constantine's father. I'm not going to rub it too much. I get into trouble. You all tell me I shouldn't be rubbing coins. My theory is if it's been turned around by ploughs and stuff like that all over the last 2,000 years, a little tiny bit of rub is probably not going to do it too much harm. But anyway, absolutely. Oh, look, there you can see where I've given it a scrape just on his face. I think that's Constantius Chlorus. I think that's Constantine's father, which would make it about 300. No, probably a bit earlier even, maybe 280, 290. But wow. Maybe 300, 305 or something like that. God, I'm pleased. That's really, God, along with that seal matrix, that's made my day. I haven't been here that long. It's quite hard going in these carrots. It's very furrowed. Well, welcome back. Well, this coin's an absolute stunner. It's such a shame I've given it a bit of a whack. If anything, though, it shows you what it would have looked like when it was originally made, because you can see what the copper is. Now, it's a phallus, and it's of Constantius Chlorus, who was Caesar from, I think, something like 296 to 305, when he was emperor for a year before dying of an illness in Britain, having defeated Electus and his band of cronies who had taken over the island and declared himself emperor. He was one of the original four of what was called the Tetrarchy under Diocletian. Diocletian started it in 294, I think, and he abdicated, the only emperor to abdicate, in 305 in favour of two previously chosen Caesars underneath him and Maximian. They were co-emperors for 10 or so years, and underneath Maximian was Constantius. He was there prepped to take over, and under Diocletian, I think, was Galerius. Anyway, this was the idea being was that instead of the empire going from father to son or to the next, the closest relative, which was disastrous. You had people like Commodus and Caligula, all sorts of lunatics running the empire. You had chosen people who you knew could do the job. And on paper, this was a brilliant idea, but it didn't last more than one go. On Constantius's death, he declared that his son would probably do a very good job, and Constantine, who was not the next in line, was declared by the army at York to be empire. Before you knew it, there were about 8 people declaring themselves as emperor, and there were a massive amount of civil wars which just went on and on and on, ending I think in about 330 or something like that, 328, in Constantine finally emerging victorious, having defeated his last adversary, Licinius, to take over the empire as sole ruler. But it was a crazy time, well worth reading up about the early 4th century empire. It's fascinating. But back to this coin very quickly. It's what we call a follis, but we don't know what it was called at the time. In fact, the Roman coinage of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century is really, really complicated. But to start off, this was the main coin. It was a large copper coin with a silver content of about 4%, which was probably just a wash. This would have looked like silver, it would have had a wash, but as we can now see, there's a very copper base. This was the main coin which Diocletian started in 294, and we now know it as a follis. I think it was worth something like 10 denarii, or rather 20 denarii. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller by the time Constantine comes along. There's a lovely one of his, and you can see a lot of the silvering on it. This is one of my favourite coins. It's absolutely wonderful. Here is another one of Maximium. I don't have one of Diocletian, but as you can see, these early ones are nice, thick and chunky. And before you know it, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. Here's one of Crispus. And they're all called follises, I think. And they just go down and down in quality and size until you get just a much smaller. But they would have all been silvered at one point, and they were probably all worth different amounts as well. But these original ones, which are absolutely wonderful to find, are the original follises, or folli, whatever the plural of follises would be. And they're just really lovely coins to collect, and especially when they come out like that. I mean, really, really wonderful. So along with the seal matrix, that was just an incredible day of just amazing finds, one after the other. And I go back to that field and it does not disappoint. So please watch out for future videos. Sorry to miss Tasky, he's out sitting in the garden. I'm not gonna disturb him. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and let's go back to the fields. Right, well, this is bang next door. That was on the surface here, that coin, and that's making an equally squawky, nasty sound. Very close. It's not going to be another one. It just can't be, but still, we'll give it a shot. It's been bitten by a horsefly. Now I've got my other kit with me. It's going to... Yuck. Yuck. It's just a horrible piece of aluminium, but I couldn't, we had to give that a shot, didn't we? It would just have been lovely had it have been something lovely, but no wonder it sounded so horrible, because it is horrible. It's turning out to be a really fun day. Look at this. Now, it's got to be a buckle, hasn't it? There we go. And it's got its pin too. My God, look at that. Isn't that lovely? Gosh, I don't often... Wow. Ooh. That's an absolute stunner, isn't it? Look, it's got all the points on each side. It's got its pin. It looks, whether that's on purpose or not, to be bowed like that, I don't know. But look, gosh, that's an absolute belter of a little buckle. a medieval buckle, or is it slightly later than that? Maybe Tudor. Really, really pleased. Wow. Well, that's another ballsy sound. And I've just dug up something absolutely beautiful to show you as well. I'm not live digging because the amount of holes I've dug, 99% of which have been rubbish. It's not green waste, it's just bits of copper and aluminium and stuff. I don't know, maybe something's just been smashed up in this field. But it's just, I'm having too much of a nice time to set up every time. It's much easier to film for live digs when signals are few and far between, like on the pasture I go to, when I can be really sure that something's good, rather than, you know. But anyway, back to this. It's a copper coin now. I've started, I started rubbing it, and I can see very, very plainly Britannia and 1700. Now that makes it William III, doesn't it? I don't think it's one of the Georges, too early for that. Or it could be William and Mary. I'm not sure. I'm going to turn it over now. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that in good, beautiful condition? I can see Guillermus there. The mus is the mus of William. Williamus. Guillermus III. There we go, Tertius. Guillermus Tertius. Well, that's a lovely coin. Little William III halfpenny, I think, or rather a big William III halfpenny, but really beautiful. But that'll clean up really beautifully. Maybe with a composite cleaning pencil. I might do a video on it. I quite enjoy doing these Georgian or William III coins. But that's got some detail on it. I'm pleased with that. Hooray! And did I put it down there? I found two buckles, two really nice buckles, but this one particularly, it's tiny and in beautiful condition, but wee, and I can see the little indentations on that side, and there's one on that side where I suspect the pin would have been. But isn't that a beauty? Look, it can fit on the little finger, and I don't have particularly big hands. Look at that, isn't that lovely? And then this one as well. Well, I'm pleased with this. I don't know how early it is. Quite early, I would have thought. And I don't know if that's broken or it's supposed to be like that. But I love the little design where the pin would have gone there. The zigzaggy thing. I think that's quite early, actually. Two quite early buckles, I would have thought. But really, really pleased. Hooray! Cool. This was just on the surface. Is it hammered? I wonder. I get a very little in there. I don't think it is. I don't think it's very exciting. I think it's a button of sorts, isn't it? Oh, it was very foily sounding. It's just a button, but rather nice one. Or a cufflink. Well, it's a shame this isn't whole. Just listen to the sound that made. Now, it would have been a lovely buckle. I reckon that's a bit of a later one. Let me just turn this off. That I suspect is 17th century, isn't it? Or maybe Tudor. Lovely, the fact that it's got its pin. What a shame. What a shame that's not got the other side to it. You don't find many of this size with the pin still in them. Well, what a completely bloody fabulous day. I mean, I'm absolutely over the moon with what I've found. I've also just found quite a nice but quite a worn Edward VII halfpenny or halfpenny. I think I can probably count on one hand the amount of Edward VII halfpennies I've found. So I'm thrilled with that. And then rather a nice little button, which I think is probably Georgian as well by the look of it, by the way it's been made. Or maybe it's a cufflink. Maybe it's a Georgian cufflink by the way it looks a bit like that. But either way, I'd wear those as cufflinks. They're really smart. So just a wonderful array of finds, a really lovely from sort of Roman onwards, and then we'll end on this. I'll come back here soon. I've just been rushing around. As I said, you could probably see in some of the shots of me doing it. It's a bloody hard work, this, because it's so uneven. Well, that's all right. I mean, that could be anything from rubbish to something really good. It might be gold, who knows? Still haven't found my gold Roman. I think I'm going to have to get myself a new speaker of sorts. That's really playing up that. Well, wouldn't you know it? It's a little pistol shot of sorts, or a musket ball. That's what makes that noise. Damn it, thank you very much for joining me. I can't say how much I've enjoyed today, and see you next time.